It's sad to see kids with parents who seem to have little money. That's what our affluent friend Isabel, who always views us as jobless, remarked. Today is the school's open house. Right after that, her daughter Athena panicked. Those people are the president of $100 million company, right? Hearing that, our friend, who used to think low of us, was surprised. When my husband and I were asked, we ended up revealing more about our jobs. My name is Kathy Tan, and I'm 35 years old. I live with my husband, Mark, who is self-employed. We have a daughter, Kendall, who is 7 years old. Recently, Kendall, who just started elementary school, seems to be going to school happily every day. Her good friend at school is a girl named Athena. Next Friday, Kendall has her first class open house. My husband and I intend to attend together. However, we have a problem. It involves my mom friend, Isabel. Isabel loves to brag to the other moms about her husband, Kingston, who's a big shop banker. It gets old because she seems to think less of me than everyone else. I got to know her because she's Athena's mom, Kendall's friend. Athena is so chill, and I really hope she and Kendall keep hitting it off. I can't just brush Isabel off, especially with that in mind. When I heard Isabel was coming to the class open house, I felt really down. Oh no, is that the poor Kathy? With that, Isabel, the cause of my distress, loudly called out to me in the supermarket. She had everyone's attention with her full shopping basket. I felt embarrassed and shrank away, but Isabel started talking without a care. Listen, my husband got promoted recently. I wonder how far up the ladder he'll climb next. Maybe he'll even become a CEO soon. And then my life would be even more luxurious than it is now, but I'd probably be more troubled. Despite claiming to be troubled, she seemed rather pleased, smiling proudly. Thinking she wanted compliments, I responded, That's amazing. I tried to join in the conversation, but Isabel glared at me with a sour expression. What are you jealous of? That's what poor people do, I guess. Oh well. By the way, your husband's still not working, huh? I keep telling you he is. Really? Let me tell you, it's only when you're young, you know. Thinking you can get away with being cute without working. The older you get, the more you worry about the future. Money is something that can ease unnecessary worries. Isabel always has her own selfish ideas. Seeing her usual self, I couldn't help but sigh. Are you even taking my conversation seriously? You said you were self-employed, but that's no different from being unemployed. With that, Isabel exclaimed, scoffed at us, and then walked away. Left behind, I felt the uncomfortable stares of those around me, so I quickly retreated. I'm always being dragged into Isabel's words and actions, feeling like I'm being tossed around. I wish she would stop already, but she's Athena's mother, so I can't avoid her. What a downer. When I discussed today's events with Mark at night, Mark sighed in exasperation and looked at me with concern.
I have a busy day at work tomorrow, so I might be a little late. Is that okay?
Yeah, I want to make sure to attend Kendall's open house.
Yeah, that's right. I'll try to hurry as much as possible too.
Thinking that Isabel would likely criticize us again at tomorrow's open house, I sighed deeply once more. Despite my worries, the day of the open house arrived. Due to a hectic work schedule, I hurriedly came to Kendall's classroom still in my work clothes. As I entered the classroom, the class open house began. Just in time. I was thinking that when Isabel found me and came next to me in a good mood. Hey there, what's with that outfit? Work clothes? How lame. Isabel grabbed my clothes as if she was picking at something dirty and immediately said such things. I brushed off her hand, greeted her, and then focused on Kendall's class. However, it seemed Isabel didn't like my attitude, as she started speaking loudly. Look, Look, that's my daughter, Athena. She's a genius. I wonder if children of capable parents will excel in the future. The other moms glanced irritably at her as she said this loudly. Even Kendall's teacher during the class managed a wry smile and advised,
Let's keep it quiet.
But Isabel didn't stop speaking loudly. Didn't you say your husband would join us? Where on earth is he? My husband will be a bit late due to work. Poor people seem busy, huh? Well, my husband is a big shot, so he's even busier. Is your husband planning to come and work close too? With a proud look, Isabel glanced at me, and I just gave a polite smile back. Suddenly, I looked towards the window of the classroom and saw Athena glaring back at Isabel with a disapproving expression. Mom, please don't do anything too embarrassing, Athena muttered in a whisper, looking embarrassed at the stares of those around her. Still, Isabel was in a good mood and continued to brag about her daughter. I was trying to go along with Isabel's conversation and dodge her questions, but even though I kept my distance, Isabel, all cheerful, wouldn't stop talking. My daughter is a genius. Your daughter will probably just be a disappointment, but mine, unlike others, is destined to be a success in the future. Well, Athena does always have good grades, but perhaps it's better to lower your voice a bit. I tried to advise, but it seemed Isabel didn't like it. She glared at me angrily, then continued speaking loudly. I don't know about your kid, but take a look at this. It's the math test returned this morning. Of course it's a perfect 100. In both language arts and science, perfect scores. Impressive, right? Isabel happily holds up the answer sheet. It seems it was distributed in the morning. I sincerely praised her for the achievement, which made Isabel even happier. We're pretty well off, so we hired a top-notch tutor for my daughter, and I'm putting in the effort now, aiming for a top university in the future. The financial support for my daughter sets us apart from others around here. Isabel grinned smugly, looking at me. Feeling a sense of dread, I tried to switch topics, but Isabel, with a determined tone, cut in before I could speak. Right, your family is poor, so you couldn't do something like this. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't be saying these things. Well, kids from poor families are pretty much set up to fail from birth, right? What do you mean by that? Oh, sorry, did I offend you? Isabel giggled. I genuinely thought she had a terrible personality. Feeling like I'd explode if I kept talking to her, I took a deep breath to calm down. However, Isabel continued to belittle me and my family with her words. Kathy, your husband doesn't make much money at all. He's a complete failure. He claims to be self-employed, but doesn't he think his child deserves better? If it's just a hobby, it would be better for you, Kathy, to do it alone, not your husband. That's nonsense. There's no need for you to worry. We can live just fine with our self-employment. But Kathy, I don't mean to be rude, but you don't look very convincing in that dress, do you? I felt uncomfortable under Isabel's scrutinizing gaze. I wanted to explain that I hadn't had time to change because of work, but I remained silent, fearing it would be seen as the whimpering of a loser. Isabel seemed to interpret it as a victory, flashing a malicious smirk and exchanging glances with the other moms. Don't you all agree? The moms, feeling awkward, averted their eyes and forced ambiguous smiles. I suggested we go outside to avoid inconveniencing others with our conversation, but Isabel ignored me. Apparently dissatisfied with the response she received, she sighed loudly in frustration. Everyone around here thinks it's not even worth talking about someone like you. Oh, right. Kendall, wasn't it? Shall we take a look at that child's test results? If I'm not mistaken, they should be below average. I had no intention of falling for such a cheap provocation, so I declined. Besides, having just arrived, I certainly didn't have any morning prints with me. Thinking this, Isabel walked up to Kendall's seat and looked down on her intimidatingly. "Kendall, could you show me the answer sheet for the test that was handed out this morning?" I hurried over to Isabel and said, "We're in the middle of a class right now." I tried to return to my seat, but Isabel stubbornly refused to move her feet. Kendall, looking frightened by Isabel's demeanor, pulled the answer sheet out of her desk. Isabel took it, let out a snort, and burst into laughter. "What's the score? As I suspected, it's below par." "Hold on a minute." "To score so low? It's really pathetic." Isabel chuckled to herself. Kendall looked embarrassed, shrunk in her seat as she glanced at Isabel. Unable to bear it any longer, I confronted Isabel, trying to defend Kendall. "That's enough. Don't belittle my child. Besides, we're in the middle of a class. Do you think it's okay to behave like this?" However, instead of stopping her insults, Isabel continued to mock us further. "But don't you want to clarify things like this? I'm sorry, teacher, but your class isn't really worth anything to my child, is it?" Isabel even started mocking the teacher, laughing out loud. I couldn't take it anymore and felt determined to say something. Just then, Mark arrived.
"What's all this commotion, Kathy? I can hear you all the way in the hallway."
"Mark, Isabel and I were just..." When I turned back with an angry expression, Mark was surprised, leaning back in surprise. Just then, Isabel interrupted us. "Wow, as expected, you came in your work clothes. Ugh, it looks so poor. Isn't that outfit something factory workers wear? Have you started working at a factory to return to the workforce?" Isabel laughed and smirked as she said this, and Mark glared at her in irritation. "I'm sorry, it's just that I'm so honest that the truth slips out. Oh, I am Isabel, Athena's mother. My husband is an elite banker. Oh, by the way, if you like, should I ask my husband to introduce you to a good job?" Isabel's attitude, mocking us at every turn, made my blood boil. Mark, too, turned red with anger and looked up at her. Just as we were about to say something back, a loud voice rang out from the floor. Turning around, I saw Athena standing there. With an anxious look on her face, she ran up to Isabel and opened her mouth to speak. "Those people are the CEO of a company worth $100 million. "Huh?" Immediately, there was a murmur of excitement in the classroom. "Oh, Athena, what do you mean? Why would you think that?" In her confusion, Isabel listened as Athena whispered to her in a low voice. It was loud enough that everyone around her could hear it, but Athena was desperate to stop her mother from making a mistake. "You know, Kendall once took me there. These people are the CEOs of a big factory nearby." What? What do you mean?" Isabel looked at the both of us with a surprised expression. When I explained, yes, we visited the factory once, Isabel's face drained of color, even more surprised. I don't believe it. Don't think you can fool adults just because you can fool children." "Then I'll prove it to you." When I said that, Isabel stiffened. "If you can, then go ahead and do it," she said, glaring at us. "Here it is." I said so and opened a video site. There, the interview we had as a couple previously was playing. Since it was in a documentary style, footage of inside the factory was also clearly visible. In the video, we were walking around inside the factory, explaining things and politely answering the director's questions. Watching it, Isabel was speechless. No way! That factory is yours?" With this, you understand that we're working properly and there are no financial issues, right? By the way, could you listen to me for a moment? When I said that, Isabel clenched her teeth and looked at me with a frustrated expression. We're having a classroom open house right now. If you're going to cause any more problem for those around you and make my child and Athena uncomfortable, then leave with us. We apologize for causing trouble to the teacher as well. We will leave responsibly. As I said this, lowering my head deeply in apology, the teacher also lowered her head in the same manner. Isabel, judging people solely by their appearance isn't right. You've been mocking us as poor or unemployed for a long time, right?
So what?
Do you have something to say? These are words even a small child would understand. However, Isabel stubbornly refused to apologize. I didn't particularly want an apology, but I hoped she would acknowledge her mistake this time. Moreover, since she disrupted my daughter's classroom open house to cause this commotion, I thought she should at least say a word to the people around us. Even so, Isabel remained silent, and I sighed in exasperation. Then Athena stepped forward to Isabel and lowered her head to me.
I'm sorry my mother caused trouble.
I was surprised by Athena's unexpected action. While I was speechless, Isabel seemed more flustered than I was, pacing around Athena.
Oh my, why would you do such a thing? It's embarrassing, so stop it.
Mom, you're more embarrassing than I am. Dad said the same thing, right? If you do something wrong, you have to apologize properly. Athena said in a slightly mature tone. I had always thought she was mature for her age, but it seemed to be the result of her father's education. Placing her hands on her hips, Athena looked up at Isabel with a scolding expression.
Mom, if you say mean things or do bad things, you have to say sorry.
Mom, you stopped the class and made fun of the teacher and Kendall, right? So you have to apologize.
Come on, Mom, do it.
Swayed by Athena's persuasion, Isabel looked around in a panic. And finally she realized that she was being looked at with disapproving eyes, her face turning red with embarrassment. As if to add insult to injury, Athena approached Kendall.
Kendall, about my mom earlier, sorry. It's okay, it was embarrassing though.
Mom, you have to apologize properly too. Athena said this, glaring at Isabel. Isabel was finally cornered and became flustered. And after a brief silence, she finally spoke up.
I'm sorry.
Isabel seemed so embarrassed that she promptly left in a hurry. Athena sighed as she watched Isabel's retreating figure with a somewhat mature expression. Afterward, we received a stern warning. It seems the school also called Isabel's house, and her husband found out about the incident. Athena told us that Isabel deeply reflected on her actions after being lectured. After that, Isabel stopped bothering us. After being scolded by her husband, Isabel toned down her domineering attitude, not just towards us, but others too. She even became somewhat humble, which confused the other moms. It turns out she's been cutting down on spending and even started a part-time job recently. Mark and I discussed the need to keep up and work hard, especially seeing Isabel working diligently at the supermarket. We're still running our business as usual. Work is going smoothly and Kendall seems to be enjoying school every day. We're planning a trip with Kendall during the upcoming long holiday. We hope to maintain a good relationship with Isabel in the future.